Could have shaved. You look like.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Tuesday Night Tune Up, part of Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. I'm Bill Gilkey with Heath Tate, and we're joined tonight by Leonard Hudson, Tommy New, Johnny Virden, and the Rosebud Rocket back there, Mikey Bell.
Rosebud Fizzle.
Yeah, Rosebud Fizzle, okay. And it's the first of a roundtable discussion that we'll have throughout the year here on Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. And I'm going to flip it over to Heath Tate and let him talk a little bit about what's been going on since we were last on the air.
Well, there hadn't been a whole lot as far as racing going on. We went to Centerville and they had some drag racing going on over there. I did want to say that, bring up the log load that Eddie Wells has got going on. And his car is out in Las Vegas right now. And you can get on there and look. And log load, what that is money for that goes to Arkansas Children's Hospital.
And he's in a charity
And
race out at the Duel in the Desert.
Duel in the Desert. And anybody wants to help out Arkansas Children's Hospital, go to his website and look that. You can donate some money for Arkansas Children's Hospital through.
I think actually Aaron is going to share a link later in the evening to help people out make donations.
Donations to that. I mean, that's a good deal.
That's a good thing, and we wish Edwin the best of luck out there at the Duel in the Desert. He's in the
Children's
GRT
House
IMCAI car,
Yeah.
house car. So best of luck to him out there this week.
And we also want to reach out to Amber Ellison down at Diamond Park, which was hurt this past week. And
Wish her the best
Wish
of
her
luck
the best.
in her recovery. So,
So
Will,
you talk about that. We're fixing to do a fundraiser for Bill Nett in here in a couple of weeks, and I'll get with you. And I'd like to be able to advertise it on here.
oh yeah, we'll be glad to. Bill and Ned is a great friend of all of ours. You know, not only just those of us sitting here tonight, but in the racing community, and he's going through some tough health issues. And like I said, we'll do all we can for Bill. And Bill, we wish you the speedy recovery there. Like I said, we're having our first roundtable discussion tonight, and we've like I said, we've got a great panel. We want to thank Tommy New for welcoming us out to Tommy New Racing Fabrication tonight to host this, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Like I said, we've got Leonard Hudson, Tommy New, Johnny Virden, and Mikey Bell back there. And you know, one of the things we like to start with tonight is in Leonard, who I think you told me a few weeks ago, you're 80 years old.
Yes.
80 years old.
think about it for just a second.
Yeah, that's okay. But talk a little bit about how racing got started here in the River Valley. You were back then here in the Russellville and Dardanelle, Danville area. How did it get started back in those days?
I moved to Russellville in '67, and from working at the job I got, I met some people who were going to race, and we found out about the track opening in '68. I wasn't able to build a car then, but that's what got me interested in that, and I went to watch some races, and even though I was working and whatnot, I had made the decision to race the next year. So '68 was the first year for Centerville, and I started in '69. And because of the people I met and the friends I got with a lot of help, that really got my fever going for that.
And talk about the type of cars that were raced back then.
Well, when Centerville started, it had 3 classes. They were just called A, B, and C. I ran what we call the B class, which is a V8, 55 Ford. The A class, most of the cars at that time were straight axle type cars. Center steer, just about anything they built, they could race. And then, of course, the C class was a 6-cylinder, which is a 223 Ford or 235 Chevy mostly. It's all that ran. And they ran 2 heat races and the feature, so you had 9 races for the night that way.
And they were all saying yes, Tommy and Johnny. Because they were used to those cars. Mikey over there is looking like, okay, I've never been in nothing
Oh,
like
dude,
that.
yeah, they
So,
had Corvair bodies on them, no pink pussycat and all
Well,
that.
we had, like, we used 55 Ford frame, for instance, and when we want to change bodies, you could put a shell on it. I put a Mustang on it before. I also put a 70 Firebird body on it one time when I was running the V8. This was a little later in the 80s when you're running 350.
What did it pay back then?
They paid by the points.
I
And,
remember that.
and it depended on the purse, the gate.
I remember they used to give half of the grandstand.
And then
Say
you
if
buy,
there was 100 people and they took in, say, $500, they, half that money went to the drivers and they split that up and it paid so much.
so
a
many
point.
points, you got paid so much for the heat races and then the feature. Actually, we formed a club. The club supposedly ran the track at Central. Wendell, the owner, got the
Wendell
money,
Cook.
yes.
Yeah, Cook.
Wendell Cook, and the women volunteers and things, did concession stands and things like that. We didn't get any money out of it, but we really basically ran it and had meetings to set up the rules.
River Valley Racing or something like that.
I don't really remember that. I just remember finding out real quick that it's kind of like getting 12 people to agree on everything was impossible to set up rules. But I liked that setup because you drew for the heat races. And then after the first week, high point cars started in front in the feature. The next week they started on the back. They rotated that. And 9 races was really a good night. The old cars, 6-inch tires, basically stock.
Right.
I remember Daddy, them painted swirl, the lines on the wheel, like say the tires were locking up and not.
Well, you know how that started evolving where somebody's got I remember the 6-cylinders was started out with supposed to be stock cams and all that, and then that, how that evolves. Somebody comes up and says, we can't check those very well, so we'll just open flat cams.
Is that when you started racing, John?
No,
Well, when I raced at Crow Mountain, Johnny was probably,
it'd been early 70s. I was about 12 years old.
you don't remember.
You don't
me.
walk across
Is that when you started?
No, I didn't start till I was 28 years old.
Okay.
At
I was
Centerville.
29 the first year I raced. I never even thought about it until I moved down here. But John won't even remember him running the powder puff.
I remember you with a wig on.
Yeah, I do too.
I remember that.
Yeah.
They put me up to it. It wasn't me.
Who is they? Who is they?
I think Vance.
I think Dad put him
Yeah,
up.
put me up to it. I had that.
But I remember that.
The reason I remembered is I went out there and made some 360s, and flew around there. And Raymond Barton had the lady driving that. She was leaving. I passed her on the last lap, and she ran into the wall.
So
They gave her the trophy.
in all those years there, at 12-year-old, going to the races, and then you never got into a car till you was 28?
Till I was 28. The track kind of shut down in the mid-70s.
His dad, that was a good facility. I don't know what the
And you're
reason.
talking about the track on Crow Mountain.
Crow Mountain
Talk
track.
to us a little bit about this. There's a lot of people out there that don't know
Crow
about
Mountain
that.
track was a better facility than the Central track.
Yes.
And better concession stand, better bathroom. It's a good track, but it was early in the 70s, and we felt like, I feel like that the reason it didn't go as good, John and I have talked about this before, that most of the racers, or most of the people who are going to have a car, were coming out of the south, out of Yale County and over there. Not as many people from the north. I was one of the very few that came from the Hector and Dover area, to race. And then I know they had some conflicts on what night to run and not able to work together. Or
Well, yeah, Oplo, remember Oplo was running the same time back then too.
Oplo and run there, too. But the track there was as good. I would like, that track was always good.
Shit, I remember back then, we wouldn't even allow them to pit. I mean,
I
Daddy
can
brought me up.
remember there was not
Yes.
a woman in the pit.
Woman or kid. I had to
Well,
wait
there was a sign there that said no women or kids allowed in the.
Yeah, I remember when that the races over with, boy, we'd haul the
Yeah.
butt over. I remember old Marshall Baker had that tool truck over and had all them STP stickers, boy, and every week I'd collect them suckers. I bet you I had 3,000 things, kid. Thought that was the neatest thing in the world, having STP
It's a
stickers.
good time to have a protest now if you say no women in there.
So, and you got started in the 69.
69 was my first summer.
First time.
And like I said, my first year, I got my first trophy of the year. It was about this tall, and the car's upside down on it. They gave
That's a thing of the past now.
they gave a turnover.
I don't know many tracks that do that.
That's
Roll
my first
over.
trophy, which I still have.
First
Now,
one I got
that's
too.
not, that's not the trophy I'm most proud of. But that's,
Yeah, that's not a good one to have.
well, I'm most proud of 2 trophies. One of them says most courteous driver, and the other one says sportsmanship trophy.
And I don't think if you go anywhere, you would find anybody through their racing career that's been as big a sportsman and as courteous on a racetrack as Leonard Hudson is.
Well, I can honestly say I've never been mad at anybody except myself for doing something stupid. and I have been hit. on
Okay, say
purpose,
that
I'm
can't be
sure.
mine.
Yeah, I'm just
No.
gonna say, you think I stared at me?
Right here.
Stay
You know, and we could probably add Johnny Virden to that. But everybody else sitting at the table, I don't think they would qualify.
I've never shown mine.
I know Tommy New wouldn't, and I'm pretty sure about Mikey Bell.
He would.
You know, he wouldn't. But
Never
now,
had.
Tommy, you,
That's what I'm saying. I understand Johnny's only been mad twice in his
yeah,
life.
his
so-
life.
But you need to get over it in one straightaway.
That's right, get out of the car and it's over with.
Now, Tommy, you come along in about 1984.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
My first car was at Battleground Speedway, bought my first one in Houston, Texas, then I moved back to Arkansas. And I think I started over there in 86 at Centerville.
No, you started in 84.
Was it 84? Heck, I can't remember, that's too long ago. I can't remember much.
I remember the Plymouth that you
Yes.
had, and when you said Battleground, I actually thought that you was going to call that was the name of the car.
No, I bought a car and I run it. We lived in Houston. We just lived in
No, it
Houston.
was 1984. That was the same year I started.
Yeah, because I bought that old car off Ricky Noah, got $35 for it at a poker game one night, and I took it over to Centerville. And I tore a dry shaft out in the heat race, and I borrowed a dry shaft off Ricky D. Malloy and welded it in the car because it messed the yoke up. And I won $75 that night, and son, I stood. Son, this is the life right here. And I mean, it got so bad back then. I even I drove back and forth to work. I was catching chickens for Scooter Hayes. I traded it for a dang roll cage. I didn't know why. I traded it for a roll cage and a damn 69 SS Chevelle, go race car.
I remember the Chevelle.
Yep.
Too.
84.
The Orange Blossom Special.
Yeah.
That's back when we run wing stuff.
Right.
84 is a good year.
A lot of fun.
And Johnny, you come along in what year?
88.
88.
I thought it was old. I thought it was younger.
Did
later.
you,
I was
is that the
88.
year that you
I
ran?
started at Centerville in a limited late
Yeah,
model.
I've helped him work on that up over
Maroon. Kind of maroon.
Yes, a
style
maroon
car.
number
Yeah.
10.
Yep.
I'd steal the steering wheel, go out there and race with the steering wheel in the car just to aggravate.
Tommy parked beside me every night and I hated him. He would come
I can see
in
that.
every race
the
and this thing would be tea-tiddling. It was so hot. And they'd pour water on it for 15 minutes and every time I'd get in my car, the seat would be wet.
Hey, you messed him. I don't know what. You could not make that car run cool. That motor, I don't know what.
I prayed it would go.
I mean, he wouldn't mind. I mean, you went out hot lap, you come in and cooled it off. When you run a heat,
I'd
it would
park
be
somewhere
screaming.
different. Here he comes.
You love him.
Probably needed to borrow something.
I mean,
Some water.
Oh, he accused me not even working on it till I got to the racetrack. I'd be out there, you know, back then, we wouldn't use time line.
And you started off driving
I drove a limited late model,
limited late model at that one
I
time.
remember those, but I don't know what to do.
and it was a good car.
Once you put it in right gear,
It was good even if you didn't have it. Yeah, and then I went to a late model that fall. I sold it and bought a late model, and the rest of it's downhill.
And I get, and we had said, I talked earlier, and I guess you've been in everything, even a sprint car once.
Once.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the sprint car experience.
We was racing in Jackson, Mississippi, and we raced down there 5 or 6 times a year. Guy had us to come down there, and he had good races and everything. And one night they had a sprint car class down there, and I told him, I said, I'd like to drive one of them. He said, okay. He said, I'll get you one. And after the races, they pushed one out there, and I got in it, and there wasn't enough room. And I made it all right, but I had to hold my head down because I couldn't see under the wing.
you know, outfield on
But, you know, my sprint car career wasn't very long.
it. I got even one at Battleground one time, and that's where you're feeling nervous. I mean, I felt like you're sitting on a track, sitting in a tractor, but you're sitting up like that. I didn't like it.
Oh, I liked it.
Fast.
It was fast.
Oh, yeah.
And then Mikey, what year did you come along to racing?
92.
92. Tell us about how you got started there.
Well, they started building the track there at Batesville, and I've been racing motocross and 4-wheeler stuff, and decided I need to talk to Grandpa and get me a race car. And found one in Ozark Trading Post, $350 in Melbourne, Arkansas. Old Camaro. It was actually Chris Mosier's car. We went up there and drug that thing out of the briars, worked on it. I mean, just worked on it, trying to get ready, you know, for the '92 season. Then I found out my uncle was going to drive it. I wasn't even going to get to drive it. If I'd known that, I wouldn't have worked on it any. And I got into, they run them Enduro cars or whatever, and I got a chance to drive them a couple times. And then my grandpa built a Chrysler Cordoba and turned it over the very first lap. He had it on the racetrack. He decided he didn't want to drive that car no more, so he gave it to me. And he built him a different car. So that's where it all started, I guess.
And you got a pretty good racing career through street stocks and modifieds.
Well, what you've seen of it, it's been all right. I mean, it was quite a while before I ever won a race. And it was, I think, '96 was the first feature I ever won. And I'd actually run a late model for half a season, and just couldn't do any good. I mean, I wasn't good enough to be in a late model 4 years into my career. I ain't like Johnny Virden. And got back in one of those superstar cars, and boy, went out there and rattled off 8 out of 10 races. I won the feature. Well, maybe I am all right at this stuff. And then you start moving back up, and then things progress a little slower on getting them wins. But for the last 10 years, it's been pretty good. Good opportunities and been around good people. Even Tommy knew.
Even Tommy. Yeah.
When you buy a car, they talk tonight, but, you know,
We've got a lot of people out here
Did they build the track that's now where the old track?
Yes, actually
So I pulled the old 6-cylinder up there one time with the boat screw.
that's it.
Found out I didn't have enough motors because the track was too long.
We actually got involved in, my grandpa had a construction company, and then my uncle became he worked the track for, I don't know how many years, 10,
It's been a
12
long
years.
time, didn't you?
I
And
couldn't remember.
sometimes when he would be grading the front straightaway, you'd run across those wooden bleachers would start coming through the track. Where the old track, you know, was where the infield is now, basically, and the bleachers are where the front straightaway. But we did all that concrete work and all the walls and everything up there for them.
I was there one time. I couldn't remember what the track was. I know it's the same area.
Yeah, I didn't see it back there. I don't even know what year they shut it down. I don't guess I ever went to a
That's
race
the only
there.
time that we went up there.
I got the bug going to Riverside and I-30 and BB as a kid watching. watching guys like Johnny Virden, Bill Fry, them guys race. I guess
Yeah.
probably Tommy
Yeah,
New was
we're
racing
already
too.
Presence of royalty here.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I came.
Well, I knew I'd feel good about being in the presence of this.
You know, we had these different names. I mean, I know there's lots of people out there wanting to know how you got this name, the Rosebud Rocket. I mean,
I was wondering how I got it too, to be honest. I mean, I moved to Rosebud 10 years ago, and we was at the
When I had
Tommy's
the
race over at Centerville, the 2,500 to win the first one.
right.
And
I remember.
we're doing the driver introduction on the front straightaway. Been racing there all year long. I guess maybe that's the second year there.
Well, I think it was a Halloween race.
No, it was the
It was the
Tommy New.
Tommy Racing.
I used to remember all the name of it, but it's too long now. But Sheriff's going through all the drivers, and he gets to me and he said, and from Rosebud, Arkansas, the Rosebud Rocket, Mikey Bell.
And the crowd
I
went
thought,
wild.
where's
You know, since then, that's Rosebud fizzle now, don't you?
Okay.
So, I kind of like it.
But something behind that, I had actually, weeks before, that came into my mind. And you know, and I thought, you know, that could work pretty good, you know, for Mikey Bell. And we had the big Tommy New street stock race coming up, and I was sitting on that for the whole time. Because the crowd was gonna be big that night, and I'd come up with that idea for his nickname. Of course, I didn't know if he was gonna fight me after the race that night or not. But for about 3 weeks, I'm sitting on that, and I'm worried some other track, some other announcer maybe have the same idea and is gonna use it before I get to. But
I hadn't worried about that.
Yeah, so played the race there,
yeah, well, I didn't know where all he was traveling to, but it, you know, like I said, and the crowd really reacted to that night.
Kind of stuck, ain't it?
Yeah.
They,
And,
they like names.
yeah, they do.
It's a lot
And we
better
don't
than
have
the Johnny
enough of
Bird
those anymore in racing.
You know, the professor.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like say, back years ago at Centerville, hell, nobody called me Tommy back then. They called me Mud Duck or Duck, and they still, a lot of people in Batesville do it inside the pit.
Johnny, did you ever have a nickname?
I never did have one. Never did want one.
You probably had a couple of those there.
Johnny, you should have got one. They sell t-shirts better than winning.
That old boy over at Crawford that night, we went up there, he thought she was a giant, and you stepped in that car that night.
Mr. Good Guy.
Tell us, Johnny, tell us about your late model days traveling around on the late model circuit.
And that was some of the best years of my life, the hardest I ever worked in my life. Summer Nationals, that was the most fun. Race every night. Travel every day. That was some of the best years of my life. I've done all of it with Bill Fry, and then we had a really good time and met some of the best people in the world. Still got good friends out of all of it, and you know, that was probably one of the best parts of it, was making good friends all over the world.
Yeah.
You know, and we were sitting there talking earlier, he was talking about you and Fry would Thursday load up, take off to Florida or Atlanta or wherever, and then race, drive back to Arkansas, work on the car, take off and go to Mod.
Go to Monette on Sunday night.
Okay, yeah.
Monette was a given on Sunday night. I won, I think, 5 in a row. And it paid $3,000. Listen, $3,000 was $3,000. Yeah. Sometimes you may have raced all weekend and made $2,000. If I could go and top it off with $3,000 more, that made a pretty good
That made a
weekend.
pretty good weekend, right?
Show me what does that look like?
You know, that's like, talking about Centerville, you know, I remember they paid, what was it, 40, 30, 20, and 10 in the heat races. We'd run 10 heat races, and then I think it paid, what was it, back in 200 or 250 to win in, you know, the feature.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you something, I like that heat race money back then.
You know,
everybody I talk to does, but they're not gonna do that.
No.
You know, you have different times different traction trial, that heat race deal that lasts for a few weeks, then it fizzles back out.
Well, they done it for years and
And
years.
yeah,
over, you know.
you know.
I remember you go over and win both heats and picked it, and I, you know, you done good. You come home with a little money.
It's weird, because I don't remember anything about the amount of money we ever won over there. I don't think we cared. We're gonna be there anyway, it didn't matter.
Oh, I was too. I'd lose my job driving a truck because I didn't want to be gone. When I'm gonna race. I'd go back down there, no pack, and haul me back after that season. I'd haul hay or whatever, you know, where I might be at the racetrack on weekend.
I think the only time I remember was running over there, 6-cylinder in the one year, and two friends of mine wanted to go in on a car and we bought an extra motor. They didn't want to race. They just wanted to run to the cooler after the race. And we had a checking account, banked it over, and that's the only year I can remember. We never took another penny out of our pocket for the car or for anything, food or anything.
That's a good feeling, ain't it?
Well, yeah, at least one time.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen anymore.
That's what it was that first year I built that strut car. I mean, at the end of the season, I think we had like $4,200 in the bank or something. You know, we had a good year.
You ran a truck over Centerville?
I did. Yeah, Dodge pickup.
I think
Cheated
somebody was
though.
complaining
It
about.
cheated though.
Was
Yeah.
it your truck that somebody's complaining about in the stands because it was wasn't a
The
four-door?
Cindy cab.
Yeah,
That-
it
that was
like
the-
they said.
It's the
That's
same
one
thing
Aaron
I drive for, but that was Aaron Carr.
Mikey was-
I drove it one
I
night.
remember people talking, yeah, I don't remember. who it
He was cheating.
About sitting so far, yeah.
I never cheated, so it wasn't me. That would have been somebody else.
Mikey had a black one over there.
Had a black one, had a white one.
And a white one, yeah.
Oh, I think the black was the one I remember, but I can't remember. I just remember the one that had.
Well, the black one was the original one that they built up at McShear, and that was Mac's baby. That was going to be the fastest truck he ever owned. And when they built the white one, I got to working on it, and we was going to take it and shake it down one night over at Centerville. I took all the good tires and wheels and put on that truck, and I mean, I had that thing dolled up. And then I found out about an hour before we was loading up that I wasn't driving that Joe Payne was going to come drive that truck. I was going to drive the black one because it's faster. And I kind of felt bad, so I just left all that stuff on it. Now, I did have him out geared. I was on a lot more gear than he was because we were just going to break that one in. And that thing had that loud exhaust on it. And Joe was running second to me, and I thought he was just up under my bumper the whole race. So I run her wide open the whole race. I mean, I didn't want to get outrun by the one I'd been working on. And now I ended up winning. He run second, so it's a pretty good little shakedown. And then I took the other one over there after that and run good with it. I probably won with it too. We won quite a few races at Virden, like a couple of years.
Yeah, them little trucks like that little track, boy. They even like concrete on the back straightaway, didn't
Well, that's pretty good.
Let's see, the track was still pretty flat then, wasn't it?
Well, it's pretty good banking with Tommy. You know, I just went over with
Yeah,
Tommy.
that's right, that's later. When it first opened, it was.
Yeah, he'd never been over there.
It was a fairly flat track and short, but I always liked it because you could run 3 cars. When anything, see 3 cars in the turn running together.
No, but when I took the track, they done widened it out and everything.
Yeah.
That's when
That's right.
I guess everything come off the old, from Mola to Centerville, wasn't it, when they tore that old bridge down or whatever, and they used it to fill? But
They
the
didn't
back,
mind the back straightaway out there.
yeah, I remember that drop off?
Yeah, I run off a couple times.
I did too, but the back straightaway, a lot of people didn't realize it, didn't.
Twice in one feature.
But that back straightaway, a lot of people didn't realize it, Leonard, the dirt was so, there wasn't no dirt left on the track. And the back straightaway was concrete, it was an old bridge or something, and, I mean, it showed, I mean, it would be black and tar by the end of the night, and I could just get enough dirt when I grade the track just to cover it back up to roll it in. By the end of the night, that concrete would be showing, you know, whole back straightaway.
I didn't remember, well, I knew it was different in '84, but I couldn't remember when it changed.
That's probably 2000.
Early 2000.
Yeah, early 2000.
Early
Early
2000.
And I also remember Carl Mosley,
Yeah, the flag.
his daughter was actually taking money down at Plummer. She said, told me about that. But Carl, one thing about Carl, he didn't like the caution flag. if the track wasn't blocked. It wasn't blocked. Because I remember running races, one set in turn 1 and 2 up here and one down here, which helped me. If you set that, go through between the two of them, they never even had a caution. Now they get the caution as soon as
Oh, yeah, that's been an infield next door.
yeah. But the track was good, and I didn't remember when it changed, got faster there. I think it was pretty flat in '84 still. I guess it changed some.
Yeah.
Yeah, in '84, it still had the rails. Remember, had the rails run the inside of it.
Yeah.
I hit that sucker one time, remember the boy told me, and the rails went up over my car, and I took, huh?
Before my
No, I thought they still there when you was running.
I didn't know there was a racetrack at Centerville that was in the first until 2011.
He's such a young pup.
Yeah, they used to be them rails, had them concrete pillars or something.
Yeah.
Cause I remember I took the ones out of the front straightaway one night, the boy turned me, and they went up over my car, and I took all them pillars out down there, and there wasn't no rails left.
You've been part of taking out all the rails, multiple times this time.
He was rough on his equipment and everybody else. Yeah.
And he always blames it on somebody
Yeah.
else. He made me get a hammer and dolly out, working
Well,
his
you
car
know it was
over
in the wrong,
there.
that's why.
We just probably in the
He
way.
door
Did you
slammed
not
me
see
one
the
night,
video
well, when I
before?
had the racetrack, we was running street stock race, and he tore the whole driver's side out of my car. I went home at night, come back, and he had found some old body part somewhere and cut it up, and he had dollied my door back off, took it off, patched it, and put it all back up, pulled back over at the racetrack to fix my car.
They gave him the blue and yellow flag for 2 laps. He was in the way.
I believe it, I believe it, yeah. I believe it. Didn't know it was pull over.
No.
I'm looking at the wrong guy with it.
That flag's important stuff over there. I won a race. No, the problem was there was a lap, there's another lap to go over there one night.
I think everybody's probably done that at one time. Have you ever pulled off at the white flag?
done that one time,
I've done it once.
leading.
Well,
I had somebody that you probably have in here tell me over several this year that come in and that Bob Moore said, I thought the race was over. Come in, he was running like second or something like that, and I noticed he finished like 8th. So I guess
well, I just,
we're all Martin.
when I first took the track over, we was using those flags that I guess Wayne had, remember that?
Yeah.
And the flags were so dirty, the white flag was, we had to go buy a flag, and people thought it was a caution flag, and they'd wave the white flag. I mean, it was, over with the light and everything, it looked yellow.
I always keep count on the laps in my head.
Are you supposed to
No.
look at
No. He lied.
I tried that before, but they ended the race on 7 laps in instead of
My
15.
question is, are you supposed to look at the flag?
I thought you always did, Leonard.
Oh, I do.
because I can remember you'd be out on the track and Leonard would be lapping a lot of us newcomers. And you could always tell Leonard when they give the signal for 2 to go, you watch Leonard and he would not. And same thing on the white flag, he would not. So, so I know you keep up with the flag, because I've seen you do that. You don't see it one time?
Now it's just a breath of relief.
That was because somebody was pushing me. One of them old Chevy V8s. You could run, see that's another thing that's changed about racing, motors. In '84, I had a 350, $50 set of 11.5 1 pistons that I bought from my high school buddy in Green Forest. Intake, carburetor, Bill Wright. Some of you remember Bill
yeah.
Wright, and a can, borrowed. And that thing, it would fly. I took a compression check, it had like 210, 220 on every cylinder. And then you could pop those for okay, they didn't care what the motor ran. It was running 6-inch tires.
Why did they settle on 6-inch?
They thought the tire restriction was what we look for. You've heard them talk, we'll tone you down by the tires. And Bill Yates the only one that tried to get around that. You don't know what Bill did. Bill had some tires like this wide, still had 6 inches of tread.
one thing, the engine cost.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Well, it's,
me and Johnny was talking about that out there earlier, the different cost of engines today compared to even 10 years ago.
Yes.
If we can ask Johnny, what do you think your first late model engine cost?
It was a Russell Baker, and I give $7,800 for it. And that was all the money in the world.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yeah, now that'll buy a good carburetor.
Now Andy Durham is 50 grand.
You know, that's what I'm saying, that, you know, and a lot of this has happened in the last 10, 12
Yeah.
years.
I
I
mean,
mean, we went from, you know, 10 years ago, $7,000-8,000 was.
Oh, yeah, that was-
I mean, that was, you had a good engine. And now, $7,000-8,000 when you put shocks around somebody's car anymore.
No,
Well,
that's true.
where do,
21,000 sitting right there in that thing.
where do the young guys
That's what I'm
start?
saying. It's
I mean,
just-
And
it's-
that's
BMS,
something
I mean-
that I want to bring up tonight. You know, you talk about, Leonard, when you got started back in the '60s, and you talked
I
about
don't have any money.
you were working at Morton's, which is now ConAgra, and you were going to Arkansas Tech, and
Full-time.
went on to teach school, and you talked about getting started. And we all kind of got started that way, but today, in today's world, you take a kid that gets out of high school, how does he get started?
He has to
They're
be
going
in
to
a
drive
family.
somebody.
He has to be in a family that's got money.
I mean,
you can't.
You look at Batesville, the street stock race nowadays, used to, you know, back in 96, 97, 98 or whatever, I mean, everybody showed up with their Camaros in their own cars. Nowadays, they show up 2 and 3 car teams and everything, you know, and somebody's driving.
It won't happen, but we need a class that somehow regulates engines. You know, you can run basically a stock motor. And if you could do that and regulate it, you'd have a good class. They all run together. Racing, to me, is 3 cars in a turn together.
Yes.
Not one flying.
No matter how
everybody
fast they
set
are.
up.
You know, we started that class back when we had the racetrack, the E-mod class. And even Larry Shaw told me, he said, that's one of the best set of rules I've ever seen for an E-mod class. You couldn't do nothing to them. I mean, we had a claimer on shocks, stock distributor, you know, you couldn't even run them in the water pump. Everything had to be
I
stock.
started to.
And the guys would buy them cars and come over there, then they want you to come over and, hey, we put, you know, double hump heads on them. We run triple disc.
Well, they,
modified, you know, but they was wanting to change it after we started the class and they started running. They wanted to start adding more performance to it.
The same thing happened the first year that I decided to play with the old modified chassis. We ran and put that E-mod, and you had the tire limit, your motor limit, rods and everything. I ran a 327. It's out there on the motor stand that whole season and was competitive
Yeah.
with a 3-speed, you know.
You couldn't even run racing
And you
field
had
on
to
there.
have a flywheel and pressure plate, weights. And then the next year, oh, you couldn't run double hump heads.
That's the way we
And
were.
the next year, all of a sudden, you run double hump heads.
Yep.
And now you can.
Racing fuel and went to alcohol.
You know, the best thing now, I think, that's helped some of the racing is we was talking, is the IMCA stock cars, that and the modifieds, because, you know, you can take a crate motor that costs you, what, 6,500 Mikey?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there, and
465.
throw it in a modified, and go race, and be competitive anywhere you go.
Anywhere in the country.
If you
Yes.
don't have one, you're not gonna be competitive anymore.
Right.
Yes, I've seen them show up when I had Tri-State, you know, show up with crate motor, against them big motors and outrun them on a good dry slick track.
And that's what happened to the E-mod when it got there, didn't it, Johnny? It got to when you blow up
those-
350,
those-
you come back with it.
Those crate motors, and it's gonna be kind of maybe the same way with the stock cars.
Well, the
You
stock
know-
cars aren't on crate motors.
No, they're not on a crate, but I mean, you're.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be nothing.
They
but
should
crate
be on a
motors
602.
Yeah.
Or a 604.
Yes.
But the thing about that, it's not a street stock like we've got today. The IMC stock
Well-
cars, not like, you know, the street stocks. Today's street stocks, if you know, you go out there, you're going to have 50, 60, $70,000 in a street stock
The factory.
to go out there and run. You know, to go out there and run for $500. It's kind of difficult to make all. You know,
That's why nobody shows
That's
up
the
at
reason-
local tracks no more.
and
They
rarely,
can't
I mean,
run them all week.
Factory stock
the
is
stock cars are not,
street stock.
they're
Yeah.
not as cheap as you think they'd be, to be, you know, a competitive car. I mean, you're still gonna have, I mean, unless you just build everything yourself, I mean, like a motor for one, you're looking $8,000 to $10,000, which is crazy why they won't just put a crate in them, because you can buy that for 65. And it's gonna last better than a, you know, motor built down here in somebody's garage or something. So, I think
He's just
they're
eliminated
gonna,
us from racing.
I think they're gonna have to, I think they're gonna have to get the crates in, but I mean, IMCA's been around for a long time, so I'm sure they got something.
What's the
figured out.
crate, one thing they're doing well on that, they're limiting the RPMs,
Right.
and that helps them live,
And they're doing some things in that class. I mean, they went to a quick change rear end this year, or for next season. You can run a quick change in the stock car.
Oh, we did go do it?
Everybody says that's, you know, it's cost more money. Well, you spend what, $2,000 for a quick change?
Yeah, instead of gears.
And then you can buy 3 sets of gears for $130.
Yes.
Where before you had $700 in a set of gears that you may only run in one track. And then you gotta buy another $700, so 3 sets of gears, you done paid for that rear end and 3 sets of gears to run them
Johnny,
tracks.
you bought more sets than that at the last, Tulsa, that's a whole box full.
Did,
I think
did
you
you
buy
ever go
him
to
somewhere.
602?
They want
Your
and,
mom?
yes, I've got 2 602s right now.
And how did you like those engines?
They're fine. They're just, they don't do nothing stupid. They're not no powerhouse, but
But no, makes for good racing.
they do. They're 350 horse, 390 torque. You can buy one of them for 3,500.
But that's, right there's different, like me, I wasn't competitive, well, always run that so-called outlaw thing over there at the time. That's the only place I had to run. Motor I run was, the first time I ran it in a race was 2001. Just not enough anymore. It's worn out. Actually, I guess the 327 is probably better, but
So is,
it's an old Chrysler rod engine.
Yeah.
Remember what?
Yeah, Woodall built a bunch of them back in the day.
It's never had a bad bearing in it. Never had a bad bearing in it.
Then what with the Rochester carburetors he used to build too.
Yeah, Scott ran one of them. We was talking about Alan Franklin gave it to him one time. Had to run a regulator.
but where do y'all see dirt track racing heading in the next 5
And
years?
then the future.
Allen. If they don't figure out something.
No, it'll always be there, but
I hope so.
people like me, I'm not gonna spend the money. I can't afford to at this stage, and I'm past that, so I'm not gonna spend the money. If I can find something to run and be, halfway competitive, I don't wanna, be dragging up the rear every time, but I'm not, doesn't bother me to be there if, I can keep the car on the track and be halfway competitive and have fun.
Right.
And I'll still do it.
Well, a lot of
I
killing
can't
racing
stand it.
nowadays too, though, is that you can't get nobody stands no more. I mean, nobody shows up like they used to for racing. I mean, they'd rather see kids rather sit home and play on a video game.
Yeah, but I think promoters will make a difference. They're good.
Well, yeah, it helps. I mean, you gotta do things, like when we took over Centerville, we'd go to Walmart and we'd buy them, remember, we'd buy them gift certificates, Walmart gift certificates, and we'd buy, like little ratchet sets, stuff like that. And Bill would spend all night announcing it, every time the caution come out or something like that, he'd give something away. And people told me that they'd actually show up to get some of that stuff, see if they win.
Oh, I agree. But I can remember, you brought this up.
Okay.
A lot of this Walmart trips, I can remember back in the day when you had the track, Tommy would leave at 10 o'clock in the morning to go to Walmart to grab something.
Gonna be right back.
Gonna be right back. Tommy would get back about 5:30. And it was always something happened at Walmart.
Now,
And then the greatest thing was man, this barbecue over here at Walmart.
The brisket.
The brisket, man, this is the best stuff ever. You can go, it don't matter what, you can get a bag for $7.
Small bag,
medium
bag,
large bag.
yeah.
I just got these large bags. But at the time, he was buying bicycles also for the kids and stuff to give away over there. Well, and he's selling the brisket and stuff also. But
I know about that.
yeah, until he figures out that Yeah, this is $7 a piece.
I don't understand. I throw them in the damn car, you know. We stole them in a crock pot. We selling shit out of these barbecues everything. I was losing money on them.
Yeah, he comes back, he goes, man, Bill, he said, these bicycles are getting expensive.
They're going up.
But did he remember to call the help?
Well, so on regular nights he would.
Okay.
I used to tell everybody, y'all got to Tommy Sheriff you couldn't clean your toilet at the racetrack.
I was actually a witness to that.
But Tommy would like leave at 10 o'clock. I won't go get the Walmart order, I'll be right back. Like I said, he'd show back up about 4 o'clock. Well, where have you been? Well, he said, got over at Walmart this morning. He said, you'd never believe what happened in there. He said, yeah, it'd be some kind of catastrophe. He said, they roped the whole store off. He said, they was over there interviewing everybody. And he said, I've been waiting all day to get a statement. Like if something that bad happened, I wouldn't know about it, you know.
You remember the first time you talk about that, the first big street stock race we had, I mean, boys place was packed, Johnny, I'm telling you, you can ask him, it was a big crowd. We run out of hamburger patties, we'd ordered like 40 cases of hamburger patties, we'd run out Saturday night before we missed.
Is that when I was over?
Huh? You wouldn't sign autographs right then. Yeah,
Well,
you was there.
I go and get the free cheeseburgers that I told him Tommy said he'd take care of the
That's probably
cheeseburgers.
why I was buying more stuff.
The double
So
bacon
we sent,
cheeseburgers is good over.
we was trying to get Jessica, Jessica was working pay window, Melvin's wife, we was trying to get her to Walmart to get some of them hamburger patties to get back for her. In Michigan, we could sell more food, you know. I brought still called Bill, I said, hey, I said, you call whoever and tell them there's a, she's in a van with a little silver van. I said, you tell there's a silver van hauling ass to Walmart and come back. And I said, he said, hell, we'll escort her. That's what they get back over here.
But yeah, Tommy was always good help on Saturdays.
Well, hey, I got my track graded. I didn't let
Yeah.
nobody grade my track. I mean,
That's
that's
the favorite operator in the state of Arkansas, I told him one day.
Yeah. Well, he used to say I can look out both eyes and keep my eye on, you know, both sides of the
At the
blade.
same time.
We'd been over there before one of the, I can't remember if it was the first year or the second year of the street stock racing. We'd been there like since Tuesday, just working. And the last day was on Sunday because we practiced on Thursday night.
Yeah, it was Memorial, Labor Day week.
Labor Day weekend, and we'd had Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night was the finale. And Tommy comes up to me on Saturday night and he said, tell you what, he said, you've just been working hard all week. He said, I'm gonna hire somebody to drive the water truck for you Sunday. And I thought, well, that's all. He said, you come over and do what you need to do. He said, and go back home and rest the rest of the day until race time. We get over there and we leave at 3 o'clock in the morning. We're back at 6:30 in the morning trying to get ready. And Tommy said, tell you what to do. He said, you go ahead and load the water truck. And he said, the driver will be here in a little bit. He said, he can start in, you know. So I go down there and I load the water truck. And so I go back out and me and Tommy are talking and Corey gets there and Tommy goes, but tell you what, he said, if you go ahead and put the first load, he said, I'm going to take Corey, we're going to run to Walmart. There's Walmart again. He said, and he said, we'll be right back. And he said, then you can go home. Well, as the story goes, I start getting phone calls about noon. Now keep in mind, this is 7 o'clock in the morning. I start getting phone calls about noon. They're at the Old South, they're at Lowe's, they're here. Finally, as usual, 4:30, 5 o'clock, they show back up and I drove the water truck all day, you know.
I think you're exaggerating.
I don't know about that.
Well, Bill, you remember, I mean, was it the first year or the second year of that street stock deal? We had Joe Payne on the grader,
Yeah.
and I was on the tractor.
That's the second year.
That's second year.
I think we was all involved in that. I don't think I've ever got paid for that either.
Yeah. We didn't even have that discussion.
No.
Now you got.
Well, Johnny, you know, they're talking about that stuff. Now as far as you're traveling, we're all, you know, you talked about traveling, you and Fry. Now, where all did you travel to?
We've been Wisconsin, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, Kentucky. We've been everywhere except west. Texas is far west as I ever went. I think Bill and them went to Arizona one time, but we'd go everywhere. And up north in the summertime, sometimes you'd race on a Tuesday night and it'd be standing room only. But they would
I've always
have,
heard that.
you know, Owatonna, Minnesota or something, you'd go up there and be 2,000 people in the stands on a Tuesday night.
Tuesday time.
And, but now they just promoted that stuff. They'd make it sound like the Daytona 500, and everything was well promoted, and they paid big money.
Now, y'all traveled together?
Yes.
Had both y'all's car on the same trailer?
No. We
How'd y'all do
we
it?
had separate rigs.
Okay.
And I remember one time, Bill had a truck and trailer that was so slow that the only way he could keep up with the school bus is if it stopped a lot.
My question is, did you ever have to sell anything to get enough money to get home?
I never did, but I bought some tires and wheels off some people so they could get enough gas money to get home. And I bought a motor one time so some people could get home. And then sold it back to them a couple of weeks later.
I remember that story.
Did you make a profit on it?
No, I sold it back to them, what I get for it.
I think it was one of those old late model boys that ran at Silver all the time. I can't remember what number, car 133 or something like that. Told that story, whether it's true or
That's
not.
a
They
truth.
sell tires and wheels and
To get gas money to get home on.
that, there was a time that would tempt me.
I blessed some weekends knowing that I had to make so much
To make it back home?
to be able to go the next week.
Okay, yeah.
Well,
And that's really a bad feeling to leave out knowing you need to make X amount of dollars.
Yeah, if anything happened.
Oh, yeah.
But it always worked out.
Was it always, when you left on a Thursday, was it a Friday, Saturday, that you knew you was going to two different places you was running, or was it
A
always
lot
the
of
same
times
place?
it'd be
or-
two different places, but like when we run that Habitat of stuff, in them days, they wanted every feature to be 100 laps. They wanted to be so much like NASCAR. They wanted every feature to be 100 laps. So usually you qualified, run heat races on Friday night, and then Saturday night, you would come back and you would run the Bs and the feature. And we'd always do that. And then we would try to pick up something on Sunday night to make gas money coming
Coming
home.
home?
are the late models today anything like they were when you? They changed a lot, haven't they?
The technology's really got there. I'd say shocks and springs is the biggest
Biggest
thing.
change.
Motors is better, cars is better,
So I remember.
drivers is better. It's just, everything's better.
I remember the Hilltop Speedway in Eureka Springs. Only lasted about 3 years. But the only class they ran was late model. But now a late model then
I
was
remember
a
that was
Chevelle body
Crawford County.
frame, just a body on it and a quick change and a good motor. I don't know. My high school buddy, I went up there and drove his car a couple of times. He had it built some.
Crawford County, that's all they had was late models.
And then
But
they
they had
divided
6
by
different
time.
classes of a late model.
Okay.
And if you started off in a slower class and you won, they'd bump you up a couple
And
classes.
they weren't anything like,
No.
not even like
No,
the fat street stock are now. Good motors, but I can't have it built in Springfield, Missouri, I don't know anything about cars or anything. But that didn't last about 3 years because of the passion play. Got rid of it because they kept making them change dates because the sound was going down through the hall.
Oh, okay.
Politics got that one. And there was a track that, at my old hometown for about 2 years, Green Forest. I don't know what happened to it. We ran there one time, and that's,
A lot of old racetracks is gone.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
well,
I hate to see one go, because usually they don't come back no more.
That's true.
Glad to see Plummerville's coming back.
And we, I know Johnny was there and Tommy was there. I seen Tommy. I don't know if Mikey made it to Plummerville. but
No, there.
That was some good racing over there. I mean, and it was a good crowd and.
Yeah, Johnny had a good turnout.
That's good opening night.
Yeah, he had a real good
And
turnout.
I was there in a good place to watch, but Scott and I went and sat in the stands.
It would have been a real great night if it just hadn't been so cold.
True.
No, Mikey tore our car up so bad that he couldn't make it.
Yeah, it's a little cold.
Well, that we understood that, but I mean, I seen what was left of it.
I showed you the picture of him turning over on the wall.
You know, I seen what was left of it that night. Of course, when you get over there and Mikey's working on it a little bit, and it's sitting on a tarp.
No, I don't think Mikey's working on it.
Well, I walked over there a couple times and Mikey was sitting there. I'm not gonna say Mikey was working on it.
Yeah.
But my question was, why did y'all want to lay in all that dirt? Y'all had that thing sitting on a tarp. Y'all could have swept it. I mean, the dirt on the tarp
It
was
rained.
6 inches deep.
Yeah, it rained a bunch.
Did you not see the car after he made the race for Hope? There wasn't nothing left of it.
Well, I understand, but
I mean, it looked like it literally was flipped.
it
I
It looked
wonder
rough.
if, Johnny was he pleasantly surprised with the turnout of 52 factory stock?
yeah, there
And
was,
he had an excellent turnout,
A good crowd.
had a good
yeah,
crowd.
big crowd.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
think,
full.
people was really enthused about that
Was,
opening back up.
was.
the only thing we had to worry about is Scott's still paranoid about we're sitting in
I mean, there was, like I said, there was 50 something factory stocks. I don't know how many modifieds there was. There was,
30, it was either 29 or 32.
you know, and then the lake malls.
So that was lake mall count.
Good lake mall. There was some good racing in every class.
Yeah, I'm gonna say there's cars tore up too.
Yeah, there was some good racing in every class. There was.
But now you found out the difference in that late model class between the iron block thing.
Yes.
You found out the difference between a $75,000
Race car.
and a $20,000 one. I asked Scott Freeman, he said, that John Kirby's got that's some money tied up in that.
It's a good car.
It's a good car.
I feel like I'm helped with it. It's a good car.
Yeah,
He was fast.
He was.
He was fast.
He talked him into changing gears in practice. and
That's a good car.
It was
Good looking car.
good looking car.
Well, do y'all think, let's talk about the steel block late models a minute. Is that something you think is gonna help racing
Well,
in
I asked-
Arkansas?
I thought it would. I asked Scotty Freeman about it. First I asked him, I said, all them cars that run legal? I mean, I can see difference in a lot of them motor-wise and stuff.
Yeah, but you see a lot of them classic.
Of course, he also said that they didn't ever take the hood off any of them either, so.
Yeah, me and Johnny actually talked about a little bit about that out there earlier about the lake models and back when they had tried to do a crate motor with them, how many years ago? When
That
they-
was in, like 212, like Mooney done that deal for a year.
We run.
We
I thought they run the second year, 2010, wasn't it?
No,
Was it 12?
12.
And that, you could have seen that would have been a good deal, kind of like it is with the
You see, I was the
modifieds.
guy that kept up with all the numbers. You seeing
But
that?
that didn't work out.
Somebody had to.
No, I think,
But they're pretty big down in Mississippi and stuff.
It is down that way.
Still
I
is,
would-
done well
I
there.
don't know if they got
miss-
policed real well.
I would miss that.
Yeah.
I
That may
built
be
every
it.
motor
You
that
take
I
a
run
$6,000
Yeah.
crate motor and you got 15,
Maybe
20,000
that's
in
the
it.
problem.
I mean, it's not really helping the cause of
That's true.
making racing economical.
But what do we do to make racing economical in the future? And that's a tough question because there's not a whole lot really we can do
Well,
because
believe it or
everything's
not,
manufactured.
believe it or not.
Well, IMCA's, they protect them motors pretty good, keep up with them. so.
We're not, Wayne has the old lead sled class. If you started that 4-door long wheelbase and you could stay with it and pay them a little, you get some of them young guys that build one. Some of them old boys over at Central made some of them old cars turn and run pretty good.
Yeah, we started that class like that when we had called dirt rods.
You have to stay with it because it's not gonna happen.
And And, I don't think we got, what it paid back in, 150 win feature or
But I wouldn't
something?
make him put a cage in.
100, it wouldn't
75.
budge.
Yeah.
It wouldn't budge.
You want to pay 150, I want to pay.
I think you only paid 150 in street stock.
You wouldn't have been there, probably.
So,
But sometimes the pay will do its own tech work.
the key,
Yeah.
You're right.
the key is getting a class and starting,
The more you pay,
not
the
making.
Well, you take,
more they're gonna cheat.
you take Crawley Ridge, I mean, you know, me just talking about that here a while back. He don't want to add money to a lot of the big shows. He's like, no, he said, you run my local car though.
And there's something to that.
Yeah.
If you have a big money race or something and have some come in, they're gonna hurt your locals.
Yeah, true.
I think the only way you need to have a special race is have something different that you don't race come in.
Right.
Like sprint cars or something, have something that your crowd don't normally see, something you ain't gonna hurt your local drivers with.
And here's
That's a
something,
good point.
and Leonard will remember this, and I think Tommy will too, but you go back to the 80s, and I think even to back in the 70s, the only big race we ever had every year was Labor Day weekend.
I can
I
remember.
mean, there wasn't, we would start the first weekend in April, and we'd race to about the second or third weekend of September, whenever the Polk County Fair.
Yeah.
And you always quit the week before. But really think about it, you didn't have a deal where the third weekend of May, they paid you an extra $500 for a big race. We raced for the same purse all year up until Labor Day weekend, and there was added money, and that was the only time during the year we had added money to race for.
First big race I ever went to, the people run off with the money. You know what I'm talking, remember
Yeah.
what I'm talking about? Back in the 80s. I mean, went up there to the pay winner, and they put nobody there to pay it. That's the first big race I ever went to.
And I
Yeah,
like
we did.
the thing, the added money where, what was it? Somebody put some money, the promoter got this, on like whoever finished 8th.
Yes.
You know, I remember, getting $100 check for finishing third at street stock down one night, didn't know it. It was Jimmy Wells, when he had the body shop over there, had already told him that. Sometimes something like that, promoters can bring that stuff.
See, that's what we done at Centerville. I went out the year they run the late models. I remember Dwayne was involved in it over at the Advanced Collision. And we called the street stock, remember that year was the Advanced Collision Solution Street Stock Series. And they put up money like that, and we had people that done that, and that's what we called each series and stuff, and they donated the points too.
I've only seen several mess up when Wendell Cook had it one time in '84. He had a special race at the end of the year, and because he's on the Little Rock cars, he changed to tires.
Yeah, with the
I didn't
60
even
series.
run
Yeah.
it. We didn't even run our car. I said, I'm not racing.
Well, they all do is tires and headers.
Yeah, and I'm not buying all that stuff for one race. We didn't do it.
Well, Johnny's always said that about the money deal. He said, y'all need to put it back through the field. He said, what was you always say about a man needs to
See,
stop and get a
that's
hamburger to go?
Everybody needs to
And
stop
that's the
making
funny
whales.
thing, the bomber class, they called it, at Pump in '05, my car won the championship. It's the old Camaro, the same motors in unmodified, the old 350, and you had to run, all they said is a hydraulic cam, and you could run double hump heads. And all they checked the bottom of carburetors. I had no CNS and that. Wasn't any money in that, and no headers. And all those cars, they didn't care what cubic inch you're in. All those cars that year were pretty even.
You know, we even hit on that just a little bit earlier when we talked about back at Tri-State back in the day and other tracks where, you know, there was guys that had $1,000 motors back, you know, early 90s and stuff like that, but they were claiming them motors over there.
And in the
you know,
mods.
in the mods, they were claiming motors and for what was it, like $250 or something?
$325.
$325.
And the record got 25.
Yeah, for pulling the motor. And if somebody claimed one, they'd probably be a fist fight in the pits after it was over with them.
But it made drama. It was good for the stands. It was good for the crowd.
And the record drivers.
Yeah,
It's $25.
Yeah. But there was,
Is that back when they used to weld the heads on them and everything else?
I've heard stories.
I've heard a lot of stories.
Yeah.
Old pans.
But it seemed like, talking about the engine claim deal, it seems like that went away more because of the promoters than it did the racers.
They didn't want to make nobody
They
mad.
won't make
That's right.
anybody mad.
That's right.
But, I don't know how you did it. I just know that those old bombers in '05 are all closed. I know there's one guy running a 383, but he couldn't go tires or landed 8-inch, I remember running an old Goodyear on mine. I've got 2 pictures down there, feature wins with that old Camaro. And one of them's got Goodyear tire on the right rear and the right front. The other one, I ran one on the right front the whole season. The reason Johnny understand this, they were so stiff, I think he could run it flat. So we didn't spend any money. Then just ran the whole season. The maintenance didn't even freshen it up or anything. So you could do it back then. And the only thing about it, if you ever get people evened out like that, you can. But I don't know how to do it.
Well, guys, our production managers tell us we're gonna have to wrap this up, and it's been a lot of fun. We're gonna go around the room here real quick, and tell us what's on tap for 2021, Tommy. What are you gonna do?
Keeping up with Mikey Bell and getting the modified ready to go. We're
Still
gonna try to build I guess that new class base we got, the
IMCA
IMCA, stock cars, and get this one ready to go.
Leonard?
We'll wait and see how much tomorrow's gonna run on the B mods, because that's the closest thing that we can change ours over to. We did put together another motor that Scott had an extra motor there. It should be better than what I've got, but it's not a crate.
So,
You'd think he had to get loan you one, wouldn't you?
He's got a Camaro sitting in his
On
shop
rock.
with flat tires
Mm-hmm.
and a crate in it. You ran, it makes one release spring, what?
Well, 2 years
One
ago.
night.
One night, year before last.
Did you ever change the bolt I told you was bent back there in the shop? Did you ever get that
no,
changed?
it's still big.
I told him the other day, and I won't say more, that I was coming up there, I was there, I'm coming back and I'm gonna wash the thing. It's sitting there in the center of that, it's open, it's got a roof on it, and it looks like a poor dirt thing.
The left rear shock bolt on the bottom is bent and needs to be replaced.
Oh,
Well, you probably some kind of angle for him.
that's what we were doing.
No, I was being the polite tech man and telling him he had an issue, so.
If they run B-Mod every other week, like I think they've been talking about, and they run the IMCA modifieds, I don't think I can ever, we'll try that, Scott and I will try that.
okay.
Mike?
Hope we just race a lot more. With this COVID stuff and
Oh, that's bad.
get to where we can get in the rhythm and go racing every week again and hit some different tracks and do a little traveling maybe and maybe steal Tommy's seat every once in a while.
I was gonna say, are you just gonna stay in the mod, or are you gonna try to get in the street stock every once in a while? Or-
I would like to get in the stock car, honestly. I don't think I'm very good in the mod, so I want to get back to the stock car stuff. I
You
feel
told me
like,
that before we spent all
feel
the
like,
money.
I feel like I'd be more competitive in that. But, I mean, not that we hadn't had some success, but it's not every week.
I know that feeling about.
We're working on that IMCA stock car deal. We're hoping we get something going with it to have a second car.
So if y'all's got any extra money laying
Yeah, we should put a deal in first spot. I told you I was gonna do sponsors needed.
Yeah. Johnny, what about you? What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna race at Palmerville. I'm gonna support Johnny Wise, and if they run a B mod, I'm gonna run a B mod. If they don't run a B mod, I'm gonna run a modified
There you go.
with the same car.
Same car.
Same car. Yeah.
Yeah, he ran there.
Well, all right, guys, it's been fun, and hopefully we'll get to do this again. And like I said, we want to thank. We didn't do that in the beginning tonight because we've just been talking. But we got to thank our sponsors. We'll thank True Grit Auctions over in Dardenne, Arkansas. Like I said, they're not just in Yale County; they're statewide. And if you book your auction with True Good Auctions before Friday at midnight. They've got operators standing by, and they're going to give you a free 1-year subscription to Arkansas Motorsports Magazine. Thank you, Gary. And we also want to thank Prescott Raceway. We also want to thank Tommy New Racing Fabrication for having us here tonight. And we also want to thank Icky's DCR Parts and Accessories in North Little Rock, Arkansas for helping bring tonight's Tuesday night tune-up. Heath, tell us where we're going next week.
Next week, I haven't got my paper in front of me. I'm trying to sit here still. No.
Probably go.
We're gonna be in Little Rock,
North Little Rock.
North Little Rock next week
You always said it worked.
at the speed shop.
Steve Haynes.
Steve Haynes.
Is going
We're
to be our
gonna
guest.
be there and visiting with him about some drag racing and everything that he knows about drag racing, which it'll be a lot.
You know, he's been around for a long time. He's fixing to enter 50 years in speed business here in Arkansas. And he's going to be our guest next week, and we're just going to have him because he's got so much information.
Right.
So for Heath Tate, our production manager, Aaron Gilkey, that we didn't thank last week before we got out of town, we appreciate all he does. If it wasn't for Aaron, the show would not exist. Because as he says, we wouldn't know how to sit any of this stuff.
None of it.
So like I said, for Tommy New, Leonard Hudson, Mikey Bell, the old Rosebud Rocket there, and Johnny Virden. I'm Bill Gilby for Heath Tate, and we'll see you back next Tuesday night at 7 o'clock.